the concluding part of the discussion. And obviously, we are going to discuss the Children's Act 1966. In fact, you will appreciate that perspectives have changed with respect to time. Now the children are being treated in somewhat a different way, in a more emotional or sentimental manner as compared to the earlier times. Because earlier, as we discussed right now, that the dictum was spare the rod and spoil the child. Even the teachers used to beat the students like anything, small kids. And there were different sorts of punishment that was given to them. Now, no more. Because it is obvious that they have got the right at least to become, to be treated like human beings in the first place. So it is better to make them understand things in proper perspective rather than to resort to carnal punishments. Any physical punishment is simply not well accepted. But what of the deprived ones, the children who are on the roads, who are forced into begging? Think of those children. In fact, in this particular act, we will find there is a more of a provision for the children who are into begging or who are deprived in some respect. So, the Children Act 1966. Please do remember the year. This year is very important, and it is a long time since the act was promulgated. The Children Act 1966. And you will appreciate that things have changed of late, because this act was promulgated in order to ensure the care of the deprived ones. In fact, the very statement could be appreciated in this light only. It provides for the care, protection, maintenance, welfare, training, education, and rehabilitation, trial, in fact, TR, and rehabilitation of neglected and delinquent children. So you see, this act is focused on the children who are neglected and the children who are delinquent. They have committed certain offense. Therefore, the word trial is used in this case. It should be trial, not trail. So there is a provision for the trial and rehabilitation of the delinquent children. That is what we refer to as juvenile delinquency. So idea is to attend to these deprived ones who do not have any source to bank upon. There are no support from any quarters to look into their interest. So therefore, this act was enacted. And by child, as per this act, there is a discrimination. Anybody who could explain why this discrimination? As per the act, the child means a boy who has not attained the age of 16 years, and for a girl who has not attained the age of 18 years. So why this discrepancy is there? Any explanation from your part? What do you think? What could be the possible reasons? What could have been in the minds of people who passed this resolution? Why there is a discrepancy between the age of boys and girls, who could be referred to as child, as in the context of this particular act? Remember that year 1966. It was the year when the girls did not have much opportunity to come out of the home. Right? They used to serve as a helping hand to the household affairs, and they were not very exposed to the world outside their four walls, as the boys were. So the boys used to get mature more quickly as compared to the girls. That's what the presumption. So on that basis, the discrimination has been made. But this age barrier, which decides whether an individual is to be treated as a child or an adult, that is something which is to be taken into care. Because many a time you'll find that in many of the cases, they resort to this particular clause of age to save themselves from the criminal act, because they attempt to prove that they are juvenile. So this age limit is of very crucial importance. So, and the idea is simply to safeguard the ones who are deprived ones, ones who are neglected, one who are delinquent, and who do not have any support system to bail them out. So, how to come to the rescue of these group of children who do not have anybody else to look after them? They are the neglected lot. They are forced to beg on the roads and wherever just to earn a livelihood. So, so this act is particularly concerned with those group of children. So please do remember the children who we are talking to, the deprived ones, the neglected ones, the delinquent, uh, who are required to be safeguarded properly. Now, in this act, some sections are to be remembered, like section 41. Please do remember this section. This is a very important section because it deals with the punishment for cruelty to child. A child is to be treated with care and compassion rather than cruelty. And it has been uh, time immemorial when the practice of uh, imposing on child of different physical torture was very much prevalent. It has been prevalent since ages, and particularly the children that we are referring to, the neglected ones. They are not treated with any dignity or respect, or even the human face is perhaps missing. So, what is the provision in this section? What is this clause state? Please do remember, if necessary, please do write some of the details. And the section states that whoever having the actual charge of or control over. Now, who will be punished? They will be punished. The one who have taken the actual charge of the child, or the or who exercise a control over the children. So therefore, these children who are under the control of those so-called guardian, they are to be punished. So actual charge or control over a child assaults, mind the different criminal offense vis-a-vis the child. Assault, that is, you cannot harm them physically, you cannot beat the child, you cannot assault. Abandons, you desert the child, exposes or willful neglects the child, or causes or procures him to be assaulted, abandoned, exposed, or neglected in a manner likely to cause a child unnecessary mental and physical suffering. You see, a child is not to be uh, allowed to confront the physical and psychological torture that is being perpetrated. No suffering, because the children are very innocent. They, the imprints on their mind that they would carry for the lifetime will be devastating. So if you treat the child in a very compassionate manner, in a very with utmost care, that will shape up his persona to a large extent. That will be reflected once the child becomes an adult. You cannot treat the child in a very cruel manner, because those blemishes, those
Excuse me, sir.
yes, please.
There's a girl who is asking permission to get in. Preeti.
Yes, she hasn't admitted, correct? Has she entered the class right now? Because nobody is on the waiting list over here. Okay, sorry. So there are some. Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Correct.
So the idea was simply to protect the child from the perpetration of the carnal punishment. And carnal punishment, when the body is harmed by assault. And any
So,
yes, please.
so, so this is me. So sorry, sir, for being late. Actually, there was some issue regarding logging. So I tried for several times. Then I got uh, login.
Okay, no problems, no problem at all. It happens. You cannot depend on the network these days. It is
So I was trying since 12 o'clock only. Then after several times I tried for many times. Then I got logged in. I thought I will miss my class.
in fact, I had the impression that I would not be able to start the class because of the network problem. And all of a
Yes,
sudden, it
sir.
simply
I don't know
connected.
why there is so problem.
Yeah, you never know. So much of disconnectivity with all sorts of network.
Yes, sir. So
Maybe
sometimes after logging in, there was a page that it is unavailable. The site is not available. This is invalid, kind of thing. They said.
Yes, sir.
the other day when I opened this LMS, the
Yes, sir.
platform, I could not figure out that it existed. There was total sea change, and I was wondering what happened actually. So I called the HOD to figure out what actually has done. So she said, no, this other way, you have to visit different site and then whatever. So now you never know what sort of problem will crop up at what point of time,
Yes, sir.
and
So
everything
each day
goes.
there is a different type of problem. Each day,
Yeah,
each day, if we start logging, there is a different type of problem.
correct, correct. And all of a sudden you find that the screen freezes. It will not move. Your
Yes, sir.
cursor will also stick to a certain location, and then you are helpless. You cannot do anything
Yes,
about
sir.
it. So it
Yes.
happens. You cannot be blamed for that. This is the technological snack. How can you be blamed for that? So good that you have come. You have entered, because it might
Yes,
have
sir.
happened that you
Luckily.
might not have entered. It
Sir,
might
Yes,
have.
one day
sir.
I entered before before the class was ending, just 2 minutes before.
Anything could happen. You
Yes.
never know. And then that is very frustrating when you are damn sure that you will enter the class right away. And many a time I simply open up at the nick of the time. And then I find that, well, this was not it. All sorts of troubles are created. You just can't open up. And then you can see the frustration. So all things at times go haywire. You cannot help out.
Yes, sir.
And most often, when you are very assured that, well, this is, I will make a right away entry, and then you are stopped from entering into the class.
Actually, I got
Very
logged in. Then
frustrating.
I asked Sana to please ask her, please tell her to join me as fast as possible. I don't know till when this page is going to be.
In fact, she informed. Therefore,
It might be disappeared soon, so that's why, sir.
it happens. You cannot help out. You cannot help
Sir,
out. Yes, please.
sir, I have a query.
Yes, please.
So can we get this PPT for
Yes.
making notes, because
For
every time getting and recording screenshot makes our gallery so glitchy.
no, no, I will send the
Well, sir.
slides to you.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
sir. Thank you
surely,
so much,
surely,
sir.
I will send the slide. In fact, I asked one of your friends in.
And so
Yes, sir. I have
section,
texted you for this PPT. Then you said you will send
Yeah,
us.
yeah, definitely. I will sell each of the PPT. Don't worry about it.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
And
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
So
but
like this, I missed. I joined late and I missed some of the slides. So
very
there is a
true.
problem.
And
That's why I asked. Thank you, sir.
the problem with this paper is now you will not be finding stuffs in any of the books. That is the biggest
Yes, sir.
thing.
Yes, sir.
Even if
Yes.
you come across different sites, you will not find the stuff very
So
relevant.
even yes, sir. Even words are so
Ah,
different.
so you have to cut it short. You have to pick and choose what is relevant, and then you develop a write up. So that is a very time taking an affair. You have to pick and choose the relevant ones, and because there is no such books in which you find things outrightly. So no, no, don't not to worry.
sir,
Yes, please.
the section 67B and 66B both are same, not this class, a previous class.
Women.
Yes,
So
sir.
we changed now. We changed that now. Acha, I will make the rectification. But there was a duplication in the last class itself. We detected that the same slide was appearing at the out of turn. That was not arranged properly. So that was discarded. Acha, I will let you. I will make the corrections. I will go through it and I will tell you. Now that we are coming to an end of this unit, getting it. So just make sure that you cover the different portions. Acha, what is Arshida ma'am teaching you these days? Because we will leave that section for her only. We will not
She's
enter.
teaching about laws,
Articles,
Fundamental
articles,
rights.
fundamental
She is in,
duties,
fundamental.
rights, and articles.
okay, so she is in unit 1 only. Huh? Have you gone through the syllabus? Or for that matter, we will start with unit 4 because unit 3, unit 4, and let her continue with the rest of the portions. And if at all we could cover on date, then we can discuss whatever from the syllabus. So after this, we will enter into unit 4, that is ethics, media ethics. Now that is the core part of the syllabus. So this discussion will result into the completion of unit 3, and then we will enter into unit 4, that is media ethics. Because these are very informative ones. These are something that you acha, don't be very particular about the finer details. Just have an impression what these acts are. If possible, remember some of the very important sections. That's it. You should be acquainted with the major provisions of the act. That is what is required. So don't go into such finer details that is not required at this level. So therefore, the framework that we have developed in the various slides will help you out in that direction. You restrict yourself within the framework of the discussion. That's it. That will be more than sufficient. Acha, where I have to set in the slide? Do you have that WhatsApp group? Where should I send the slides?
Yes, sir. What's the group?
Yes, sir. WhatsApp.
Okay, fine. So I will send one by one and Acha, once you go through the slide, you may also ask questions depending on that. So
Yes.
yes, I will. I definitely will. And as we cover the syllabus, the slides will be sent to you. Yeah, surely. So this was the uh, provision for the punishment of the cruelty. Anybody who perpetrates cruelty to the child is deemed to be punished by this act under section 41. And what is the provision for the punishment? because the physical or mental suffering has been perpetrated to the child, there is a provision for imprisonment for a term which may extend to 6 months. Also, these details have to be remembered. The imprisonment could stretch up to 6 months only, or with fine. The quantum of the fine will be decided by the judge only, or with both. Both the fine and the punishment may be awarded at the same time to the guilty. So there is a provision for punishment if anybody who perpetrates cruelty to the child and the one who is in charge of or under whose custody the child is. So this person, if at all perpetrates any sort of cruelty, is bound to be punished with 6 months of incarnation or the financial, the pecuniary measures like the fine that they will have to pay. So that was section 41. Now section 42. Achha, if you remember, when we started with cybercrime, all sorts of nuisance was resulted. It was not opening up many a times. The slide would go haywire. So technology will, and because we are settling down with technology, it definitely will take some time to settle down with. So
Yes, sir, but yes, sir, but each day there is a new problem.
In fact, the very first class was a very typical one. We were talking about cyber crime and all sorts of nuisance on the slide. They started popping up. My God. So you are getting entertainment without asking for it. Because you never know what development will take place at what point of time.
So, but due to these things, we miss our attendance. That is the big problem.
Exactly. That is the biggest issue. I understand. I understand. So section 42. And all these discussions are very informative. You simply figure this out, the various provisions that is, and you remember the major provisions. Do not go into the final details, just an overall idea about these sections. That will do. In section 42, employment of children for begging. You might be very disturbed to figure out that there are certain organizations which employ children for begging. Obviously, they are illegal organizations. They use the child to generate fund, simply, and they could torture the child like anything. A number of films have been made in this direction, where the children are used to, or rather forced into begging, because their innocence is misused to generate fund for their livelihood. So this section 42 is concerned with that begging act. It is against the begging provision. And what are the major issues relating to it? Now, whosoever employs or uses any child for the purpose of begging or causes any child to beg shall be punishable with imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year, or with fine, or with both. So anybody who forces a child to beg is deemed to be punished. And the quantum of punishment is an imprisonment for up to 1 year, or fine, or both, depending upon the severity of the crime. And second, whoever having the actual charge of or control over a child abets the commission of the offensible act under section. Now, if the guardian are forcing the child to beg, now this is again a punishable act. So they are deemed to be punished with an imprisonment for a term which may extend to 1 year or fine or both. And this is a cognizable offense. Achha, mind the word cognizable. In fact, I have described it in the slide only. Cognizable offense is the one for which you do not need, a police officer do not need a warrant for the arrest. Right? So there is a list of cognizable acts. The police officer, on the basis of information, could arrest somebody for investigation. You cannot ask for, well, show me the warrant. You cannot arrest me without warrant. If the act is cognizable, one could be arrested without warrant. The police officer on its own could arrest a person without a warrant if at all the act is in the cognizable list. So there are certain acts. Now this act is cognizable. If the police officer so likes, he or she could arrest somebody for investigation because the charges are levied against the person for forcing the child to beg. And this is something cognizable. So you don't have to move to the court to seek its permission to issue a warrant, and then you can move on. No, you can. The police officers could arrest the person outrightly. Okay, then there are some more. Okay, we will cover the rest of the discussion in the coming class because that is to be elaborated. And yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.